All right, superlatives time, Super Bowl edition. Chris, I'm going to give you the first crack at it since I'm still in the process of formulating mine.
Well, all right, I'm going to go with just one real – we've hit a lot of the game. I want to do one big picture, okay? Just like what a show is my first superlative. And I mean that from the whole NFL, the whole weekend. Considering the circumstances, I do want to just give it love, Mike. I know I texted you on Saturday night. I thought the NFL honors were phenomenal. Considering the way it had to be done, they're doing it in the stadium in L.A., everything like that. Steve Harvey was hilarious. The guys who received the awards, the players in the NFL, were all awesome too. So that, the pregame show yesterday, the national anthem, halftime show, all of that, the NFL put on a great show. And I just for the year we had, and again, to get all the games in, have the Super Bowl, and the way they dressed it up this weekend still was really amazing. So I do want to give a lot of credit to the NFL for that right off the bat.
It felt like a perfectly normal Super Bowl Sunday, and you never looked at the stands and thought, where are all the people? Now having 30,000 cutouts in the stands helps create the atmosphere where it feels like a normal Super Bowl, but it did feel like a perfectly normal Super Bowl experience, which I don't think we ever would have expected for this season. I'm going to see your what a show, and I'm going to raise it to what a season because I never would have ever expected all of the games to be played. We all went into the season thinking inevitably there will be games postponed. Now, there was one game that was moved from week 4 to week 7.
Right.
Other than that, there was no movement. There was no cancellation. Every game was played, and there was no need for what we also thought was inevitable, Chris, an extra weekend of games. They had it baked in. They could have done a week 18. They could have done a week 19. They could have slid the Super Bowl back a few weeks if they wanted to, because the typical crush of humanity around the Super Bowl wasn't going to be there, so they had flexibility, and it's not like there's a lot of other conventions set for Tampa for the month of February, given the pandemic. The fact that they got everything in on time, got the playoffs in on time with minimal disruption. We had Titans, Ravens, Browns, 3 incidents of outbreaks or something like outbreaks, but they managed to put the fire out. They were flexible with the protocols. They understood they're not going to keep guys from getting it. The key is keeping guys from spreading it. They worked with some inherent flaws in the process that weren't their fault. It's just the way that the virus works, the incubation period, the testing delays, things that we thought would happen like almost instantaneous results. That didn't happen, and they still found a way to work through that. And let me just say one last time to all the people out there who think that I am upset that this happened, that we in some way were against the NFL getting the season. Do you not understand that our revenue, our income, is tied to the ability of the games to be played? We were trying to sound the alarm because there were moments where you're like, are they really ready for this? Do they really know what they're getting into? Are they really prepared for the challenge this season is going to entail? And they were, but they also had a major chunk of luck that helped keep this thing on track as well. But I'm very look. We're never going to convince 100% of the people that we actually wanted the games to be played, but it's asinine to think that anybody who makes a living off of this sport didn't want the sport to be played, Chris. It's beyond asinine.
Yeah, listen, I know. Hundreds of thousands of people have died. I mean, how dare we send some warning shots across the bow just to go, are we sure we're ready? Can we do this the right way? And we were just posing questions to make sure things were done the right way. That's all it came down to because we wanted it to happen. So I'm with you. How dare you, upstage my what a show for what a season.
Sorry.
What a jerk you are on Monday after the Super Bowl, all right?
Is that your third? Is
No,
that your next one?
no.
What a jerk?
What a jerk.
What a season?
Yes.
What a
Well,
jerk.
we could glue that on there for the rest of every superlatives ever, right? All right? But I think the next one, just to have fun, would be the because, I like to do my matey, the Walk the Plank Award, matey, because the Buccaneers front 4 made Mahomes look like he was on the plank ready to jump to the Sharks. But no, really? I mean, that was a phenomenal performance. I don't know any other way to say it. The front 4, we talked about it for 2 weeks. They were going to be told, you got to dominate. You guys got to win this football game. We got to be able to have 7 in coverage and play 2 safeties back and do all that. Shaquille Barrett, JPB, Vita Vea, and Ndamukong Suh. I mean, wow. We look at this. Are you kidding me? Is this like Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner or the damn quarterback? Like, what the hell? Which way did he go? Beep, beep. I mean, holy crap. Yeah. I mean, Mahomes did all this running yesterday, and you talked about the next-gen stats. Nobody scrambled more than anybody. On a toe he's going to get surgery on in the next 10 days. I mean, he was under duress in a game they needed to protect them a little bit better than ever before. They were worse than ever before, and that was, of course, because of that great defensive line and great job by Jason Light accumulating that talent there for that football team.
You made the comment last hour about the toe seemed fine in the championship game. You know, when you have an injury like that, and we're not doctors, but we have both been injured, some more seriously than others. But when you have that ligament type injury, all it takes is that one moment where you push it too hard,
exactly,
and then it goes again.
Right.
And that's what happened last night. With those guys chasing him, without his tackles there, with the bright lights and the big stage of the Super Bowl, with everything riding on it, he clearly early in the game put too much pressure on that toe, pushed off of it too hard, and there it went again, messed it up again, and he was back where he started almost against the Browns 3 weeks earlier.
Yeah.
But that's what happens when you've got that defense that can bring the heat, and it also helps to have both of your tackles out from the standpoint of chasing the guy around. Mine is, and you've used the Schwarzenegger, I'll be back, we'll be back, they'll be back, he'll be back. I got to go, he'll be back, because, you know, there's a lot of people today that are going to take a certain amount of perverse glee in the fact that Patrick Mahomes didn't have a great game. He had a great game. He did everything in his power. He was the last guy on the Chiefs to acknowledge that it wasn't their night. I mean, he said after the game, he thought they had a chance up until the last interception that Devin White made in the end zone, when at that point there's no way. It's too late in the game. You got no chance. Up until then, he was holding out hope. Remember the crazy 2002 game between the Colts and the Bucs, the Monday nighter, where what was it? Was it the Colts and Tony Dungy came back from the huge deficit and won the game?
Right.
Remember that one?
Yeah, sure.
Like, I'm starting to think the last 5 minutes, like, oh, we've seen lightning strike in this stadium before, and it's Mahomes. Like, he wasn't giving up until after that drive. And we saw him throwing from, and we've seen him throw. Look at this. He throws from every body position, including falling on the ground, laying out sideways, and it was so unexpected that the guy that he threw it to had hit him in the face.
The guy is beyond
unbelievable.
Yeah, right. That's all there is. It's beyond special. I mean, he was playing at 80%, and it was still special. I mean, he was making throws that, like we talked about, there was a few where, they were tough catches, but they were on the money, ridiculously amazing throws, and it could have changed the game. And it's amazing. And Mike, last thing, because I love that you went down this way, because you're right, people are going to be on him. I also love the way he goes down. He didn't try to be political on the way down yesterday, where, let me not throw another interception so people won't blame me. Let me throw check downs so at the end of the day we can look at it and go look, his stats were pretty good. He went down going, wait, I'm either going to win this thing or we're going down in flames and I don't give a damn. And that, I love that aspect about him. He wasn't going to play the politics game and save his, aura, for next year and everything like that. And I have a lot of respect for Mahomes because of that.
The throw that he made when he spun around and he unloaded it into the end zone, and Byron Pringle actually came up with the ball. Like, I was like, oh, please. I was rooting for the replay to show that somehow Pringle caught it. Right. Yeah, and then you could see he didn't, but just unbelievable. And can we put up the image of him laying out? I mean, to all the Marv Marinoviches out there that have boys that they want to make into quarterbacks, make them shortstops first. That's the quintessential shortstop, deep in the hole, getting the ball, laying out, and firing it to first base. That's why he's so great, because he's a shortstop playing quarterback. He's an all-star shortstop playing quarterback. That's why he can make those throws, because he's got the arm to do it, and it doesn't matter what position his body's in. Defies everything that we've ever been taught about quarterback mechanics and motion and base and stance and turning and torque. It's just, whenever you get the ball, whenever you have to get rid of it, you get rid of it and you throw it toward the target.
Oh.
Now, you also have to have an incredibly gifted arm that you've honed to perfection through years and years and years of practice. But shortstop, get him to play shortstop in addition to quarterback, and that's how you craft a Patrick Mahomes. And hope, that you've got everything out, the skill and the God-given ability and the genes and everything else. But shortstop is the ingredient that allows us to see moments like we saw last night.
Well, he's amazing. I mean, come on, listen. I know Brady's the GOAT and everything like that. I get it, but the guy we watched last night he's more talented than anybody we've ever seen in the history of the sport. I mean, that's not even. I mean, it's a very select few can do some of the things he did last night. From the day he's taken over, it has been about Mahomes and the team and everything being around him. It's everything. It's different than Brady. Brady got to play defense and run the ball and do some things like that early in his career to where he got to grow into this. Mahomes stepped on the field and we went, greatness, take over. Go ahead, 50 touchdowns, 5,000. First time you ever got out there, just go. We never heard from you, Texas Tech, go. Take over the world, take over the team. He's amazing. He really is. That's what stinks about last night, that he wasn't at 100%, that we didn't get to see their starting tackles and see a better show. Either way, hey, that Buccaneers defense was all over him, but I have respect for Mahomes, just like you're saying, no doubt.
And let me just say this, one last bouquet for Patrick Mahomes. If you had taken, tell me if I'm wrong, if you had flipped Mahomes and Brady last night on teams.
Well, come on.
Same outcome. If
it's
not
worse. It's worse.
Worse.
When Brady's not going to be able to scramble around and make some of those
497 yards. He can't walk 497 yards.
Well, that's what I mean. So the game would have been 59-7. I don't know what else to say. That's where again, I become a Tom Brady hater. It's not about being a hater of Tom Brady. I love Brady. I do. I just get exhausted I turn on TV shows after the game and nobody talks about anybody on the team of the Buccaneers except for one guy. And I want to go, that was like an all-time Super Bowl defensive performance. That was a butt-whooping offensive line performance. I know Brady was really good, but damn, can we just give credit to somebody other than him? That's where I get frustrated with it, as you could tell.
Let me just add one last point to that, though. Because if Brady, and I don't want to take anything away from Patrick Mahomes. He's young. He's only been a starter for 3 years. Brady's been down this road so many times.
Sure.
When he walks through the door, it changes everything. So I don't want, in suggesting, I think accurately, if you flip Mahomes and Brady, the Buccaneers still would have won. There's still that aura, that presence, that mandate, that, chastising the teammate who was crying in the locker room after the NFC Championship. Why the F are you crying? We still have work to do. Texting the teammates every single night at 11 p.m. on the dot. We will win. Every night. Leonard Fournette said that after the game. Every night leading up to the Super Bowl. Just that vibe, that presence, that aura, that determination. Not that Patrick Mahomes doesn't have it. He's got it when the game's on. I just think it's going to take time for him to grow into the full Tom Brady experience and what he'd bring into a locker room. So, does that make Mike Remmers block any better? I don't know.
No.
But it helps to have someone like that around.
Yeah, well, it does. And that takes time to grow into. That's a guy that's been around the block a few times. Mahomes has his magical ways. We know that. The team loves him. Is he as good as Brady in all those areas? No, maybe not. Certainly. He hasn't been the experiences, the battles, everything like that. But still, a phenomenal leader. And, hey, that I don't care who you got at quarterback last night. That was going to be rough. I mean, I don't know what else you can do. Like we said, there was certain plays in the game where you sit there and you go, wait, are they about to throw a screen pass? Because they're letting everybody go by. And you're like, no, they were trying to block them, actually, when you saw the replay. They just barely touched Shaquille, or they barely touched JPP. That was the amazing thing to me more than anything. So, awesome aspect. I think the next thing, if we're going to hit one more superlative, that I think is really important, we heard Mahomes, talk about they defended the deep part of the field. They defended the sidelines. They really took everything away. And then you go, well, what about the middle of the field? And that's where the dynamic duo come into factor. And it's the linebackers, Devin White and Levante David. I got to talk more about them and what they bring to the table. Because you're playing defenses to protect the deep part and the sidelines and things like that. Whoa, that puts a lot of pressure on the guys on the inside. And Levante David and Devin White seemed like, for the most part, and I'll be excited to watch the film, but did a really good job in a lot of man-to-man situations or zone coverages where it ended up being like, hey, Kelsey's in my zone. Now I got to play him man-to-man. And we're just amazing with some of the underneath, in the middle of the field type routes, let alone what they do in run defense and everything like that. So Devin White, Levante David, other than like Brady, I think these two guys were the other guys that jump out to me to be possible, MVP players or of that caliber.
And Devin White was doing that thing that I saw him do all year long, specifically in the playoffs. He'll just come over and he'll say something to you. He's not going to push it, right? He's not going to get himself a flag. He knows how much he can say,
right,
and stay
Seems
on
like
the
he has
right
a smile
side
on
of the
his face
officials
when he does it too. A lot of the time,
but there's still an edge there,
right?
And I think that served the defense incredibly well. And look, I don't know if the interception that happened near the end of the game had happened earlier, would Devin White have gotten MVP consideration? I think it was going to be very hard to overcome the Tom Brady factor, but Devin White did what I thought he would do. It just, the stakes weren't as high when he did it. All he did was keep the Chiefs from scoring a touchdown at all in the game. It wasn't the backbreaker that came in a key moment when the Chiefs still had a chance to win the game. Last one for me, Chris, and this is something that we've spoken about previously in the 5 weeks since the end of the regular season. This is the Delay the Coaching Carousel Award, and this is the ultimate example, the ultimate proof of how different it would be. I've argued in the past that the awards that are handed out the night before the Super Bowl, they should be based on the full season all the way through the Super Bowl. The only problem is the coach of the year would be the coach of the team that wins the Super Bowl. The MVP would be the Super Bowl MVP. You'd get it skewed by the outcome of the postseason. So fine, leave the awards as they are. But there is a huge difference between how the NFL teams that are looking for coaches and general managers, frankly, but let's just focus on coaches, because this is the one, because the general managers keep hiring them however you hire them. It's not as important as coaches. With the coaches, if you had waited until today to fire up the coaching carousel,
say it.
I have a feeling things would look a lot different.
Todd Bowles might be like a little bit more in demand, maybe.
I have a feeling Todd Bowles would probably get one of the 7 jobs.
Right.
I have a feeling Byron Leftwich, who got, let me see, I got to check my math here, 0 interviews,
right,
would have gotten at least one if they had waited until the day after the Super Bowl to start the process.
I think you're onto something, Mike.
And Judy Batista, who covers the NFL for the NFL, we can never forget that. And I know the people who work for NFL Network, NFL Media, NFL.com don't like it when we say it. When I say it, I'll take the heat. You're working for the NFL, so there's a problem there baked into the cake. She reports that an owner said that moving the coaching carousel from the end of the regular season until after the Super Bowl would be unenforceable. What's unenforceable about it? You know what that means? That's a cop-out by whoever said that. And here's really what they're saying. People would cheat, and the NFL doesn't like to chase cheaters around because, number one, it's hard to catch them, and number two, the NFL typically doesn't like to have to say to the world, we got cheaters in here. Like last week with Gruden and the blatant gross tampering with Richard Sherman. They don't like to have to flag for the world that they have cheaters. Every once in a while, there's a strategic reason for doing it, like with Bountygate, because we need to show that we care about player health and safety. Or with any Patriots scandal, because there's such a deep-seated resentment of the Patriots within the league office, certain portions of it, and certain owners. We don't like that the Patriots have cracked the code, or at least had cracked the code. But don't give me this, it's unenforceable. Don't give me this, it is enforceable. Nobody gets hired until after the Super Bowl, period. Nobody gets interviewed until after the Super Bowl, period. And if anyone's out there interviewing coaches before the Super Bowl, we're gonna put an enforcement mechanism in place, and we're gonna whack you if you do it. What's so hard about that, Chris?
No,
do it.
I know. I don't.
Everybody presses pause. Do all your research behind the scenes. Do your work. Get ready for your interviews.
Yeah.
But the process begins today. No one gets hired before today. No one gets officially interviewed before today. And if you run afoul of that, you'll lose draft picks.
Listen.
Period.
I don't know
it's
why.
It's not that hard to do.
No, it's not. And I really think it's a great idea. One, to make it fair for all the coaches and everything like that. Two, like, why wouldn't the NFL want to dominate the news cycle for the next 3 weeks and all now be coaching conversation instead of us trying to squeeze it in during playoff talk and things like that? To me, it's a way they can dominate another month of the year in the news cycle. So that's where it makes sense to me, Mike, and I'm with you. There's too many people that are qualified that, get shunned here because, yes, they're still involved and they don't want to just go all in on, getting ready their resume and all that type of stuff. So I think you're onto something. I'm with you there. And the last part of it that I don't like.
One caveat.
Let me just say this last thing that I don't like. Just the last thing is that I just to what you're saying, what I don't like about everything you just said is it just, as me as an ex-player sometimes, it just comes down to like, man, the players always got to follow the rules, and it just seems like a lot of everybody else doesn't always have to follow them. And that's where that gets me annoyed a little bit.
The caveat on all of this would be, in the 5 weeks between the end of the regular season and the Super Bowl, you run the risk of owners making up their mind about who they're going to hire, and it's just a charade after that, right?
Yeah.
But you know what? That happens anyway. They spend the last 5 weeks of the regular season making up their mind. You think Shad Khan didn't know damn well he was hiring Urban Meyer the moment the last game ended? It was just a question of whether or not Meyer was going to take the job. He'd made up his mind, just like Daniel Snyder had his mind made up for months that Mike Shanahan was going to be the coach of his team after the 2008 season. That's the way it works. They're going to make up their mind anyway. But this is a way that forces everyone to wait, and then everyone's on a fair footing. And the best argument that supports this idea of waiting is that, and we've talked about this before, but it bears repeating, Chris, that inherent conflict that the assistant coach is feeling, as he should be focused exclusively on the next game, planning for the next game, doing your job for the next game. Meanwhile, you've got to carve out time to prepare to be interviewed by one team, two teams, three teams, four teams, five teams. And this is your opportunity for career advancement. Your opportunity for career advancement is knocking at a time when you have dinner on the stove for your current employer. And what are you going to do? Are you going to walk away from the stove when the pot's getting ready to boil and go answer the door? Or are you going to not go answer the door? What are you going to do? You got to choose. And as one person said to me, when that assistant coach comes home at night, offensive or defensive coordinator, to spouse or significant other, the question isn't, gee, how's the game plan going for this weekend? The question is, have you heard anything more about that head coaching opportunity? Do you know? When are you going to know? When's the interview? How'd the interview go? When do you think we're going to get the job? That's human nature, right? Because that's what they all aspire to do, is become head coaches. So it creates a horrible conflict of interest that we expect these folks to navigate. If you just wait until the day to start it, nobody has to deal with that. It's all equal footing. It's all fair. And we have the full body of evidence from the season that was before we start making our plans for the season that will be.
Yeah, that's right. I think, well said. Hopefully the NFL will think about this a little bit. Too. I think you just bring up so many good points, and like I said, I don't understand why now we're going to not talk. There's not going to be as many stories surrounding the NFL the next few weeks. It'd be great to be able to talk about the coaching interviews and do all that stuff.
Let the postseason dominate January, and then let the coaching search dominate February prior to the scouting combine.
I love that.
In the years that there is one.
Yeah, that would be amazing, right? And you can even make press conferences at the combine. Hey, here's our new coach, blah, 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 all that. I think it fits well. I want to give one more superlative. I got two more superlatives, actually. The crying Jordan meme. Sorry, that's my crying Jordan meme is my next superlative, because bye-bye, Michael, bye. As much as I think you're the greatest athlete in the history of America, most people will not view you that way anymore. That's for sure. Most people, you look at social media last night, hey, rings to rings. Tom Brady's got 7. The casual fan's just going to chalk it up to that and go, bam, he's the greatest of all time in any sport, whatever it is. It's listen, it's a great argument. I understand that. But it's a real aspect of the sports debate here in this country and those type of things. Brady, now will be viewed as that guy for sure in a lot of ways, and be interesting to see. I think it's going to cause a lot of arguments in barbershops and locker rooms and everything like that.
I remember you thought that once Brady got to 7, that's when he'd walk off.
Right.
But the thing is, he's a guy who once he climbs one mountain, he finds another mountain to climb. And so he's got to 7. So what's his goal? Does he really want to get to 10? There's no way in hell he can get to 10, is there?
I mean,
is there?
If you get to 8, you basically just like crap on every other quarterback in the history of football. You basically just
Literally.
go, hey Joe, hey Joe, you're half as good as me. Hey Terry, you're half as good as me. I mean, that's to where it's just it's remarkable. Again, listen, I'll say Brady's amazing. The way he throws the ball still, like you said, he climbed another mountain to me this year in conquering the mountain of I don't like to be hit or touched. And he's on a team that really protects the ball, protects him well. They run the ball, and his arm is still phenomenal. I mean, as you see last night, some of the throws he makes are just, it's still jaw-dropping, the way it pops out of his hands and everything like that. Again, I will say, he's been very beneficial of having some really good teams around him. But I just think in the casual sports fans' eyes from here on out, I think he takes over for Michael Jordan as, the guy here in America.
And let me make one important point about Tom Brady's overall self-awareness that extends beyond the end of the game. Can we put the photo back up, please, that we just had of Brady holding the trophy? There's an important detail here. Do you see the T-shirt? The T-shirt is not over his shoulder pads. That's become a thing over the last 15 years where they just slap the T-shirts on the guys while they're out there. It's got a strange look. It reminds me of Peter Boyle in Young Frankenstein, that all you really need is the sport coat on top of the Frankenstein monster to complete the ensemble. Brady knows how that looks. He got rid of the shoulder pads before he put the shirt on. Another check mark in why Tom Brady is awesome. Although it would be funny to see him with the Frankenstein look with the shoulder pads and the T-shirt under it. But you saw some guys last night like that. And I remember the first time I ever saw it was Super Bowl 42. First time I noticed it, Eli Manning had the T-shirt over the shoulder pads. And it's just, again, these are the images that will resonate for years to come. Brady knows that. He got rid of the shoulder pads quickly before it was time to put that shirt on. A very little subtle point, but that just shows you that Brady's mastery.
Well, he's very aware of everything.
Everything, how everything looks, how everything feels, everything. Go ahead. You got one more? We got time.
The now's not the time award. All right, now is not the time. No. Wait, hold on. Oh yeah, that's right, refs. I don't want to see you in the last 4 minutes of the second quarter in the Super Bowl. Get the hell out of here. Are you kidding me? I mean, that's like it's ridiculous. It's my one issue with the game yesterday. Listen, I know the better team won. I'm not even arguing that. I'm arguing a deeper issue that comes up in the NFL every playoffs now. And I don't know where it goes. Either refereeing in the regular season has to change, or the way they referee in the playoffs has to change. But what we saw last night, and what's going to be frustrating to me, is we saw a whole bunch of playoff games played one way, and then all of a sudden we got into a crucial part of the football game last night in the Super Bowl, and the game was called a different way. I don't know any other way to say it. I don't know any other way to say it. And that to me bothers me a little bit. Not saying that it would have determined the game. I still think the Bucs win that game no matter what. But I do think we are maybe entertained to a better show and a more competitive game if the referees, I don't know, just to me got involved in some very ticky-tack type plays for what we've seen through the playoffs this year in the NFL.
And it was at a key moment in the game where it still could have gone either way, and that kind of started the mini avalanche. Now, the Chiefs had the whole second half, third quarter, fourth quarter to recover from it. They never did. But I get what you're saying, and that moment we talked about earlier when Tyrann Mathieu made the interception after Leonard Fournette tipped the ball up to him, flag, defensive holding.
Well,
really?
I mean, this is where it gets lost to me, where I go, first off, the ball hit the wall, so it was not catchable. All right, the ball hit the wall behind the end zone. The other thing
you're talking about the pass interference.
I'm talking
the second one.
All right, so wait. So the first one, let's go to that. the Evans, the interception, the tip ball, right, all of that. It's a 6-yard turnaround. I mean, there was barely, there was just a little hand jostling. I mean, that's been, that was one of the least egregious ones I've seen of all the playoffs. I mean, it hasn't been called. So that was huge. Hey, the go route down the left sidelines to Mike Evans. They tangled feet. Go watch. I replayed the play like 5 times after. He stepped on Breeland's foot and he fell down. So to me, that's not a moment you call that. And then also debatable whether that's catchable. And then the one in the end zone with Honey Badger. The ball hit the wall in the back of the end zone. And here's the other thing that's being lost, I think, a little bit with pass interference. If a defensive guy's standing there, he's allowed to stand there even if the wide receiver wants to go that way. And when he's there, it's his right to be there. Just because the receiver wants to go that way doesn't mean he gets the green light to just run the guy over, and now we call pass interference. That's another thing I see consistently called with refs right now in the NFL. Just bothers me. Either way, Bucs were the better team, not trying to make any excuses, just didn't tune in to watch the refs, late in the second quarter.
The uncatchable thing is always difficult because what we see on TV is skewed by the fact that the player was prevented from making his best effort to catch it. So I think they do err on the side of saying it was catchable. It's got to be grossly overthrown to come to the conclusion it was uncatchable. But I hear what you're saying, and Randy Mahomes here's what you're saying. We had that up there. She was giving Giselle a little bit last night. I mean, right. It's hard. Look, but again, there's a big difference between having that happen in the final 4 minutes of the first half versus the final 4 minutes of the second half. There were still ample opportunities for the Chiefs to overcome it. But when you're in the halftime locker room for 25 minutes and you're thinking that the world is lined up against you, including the people in black and white stripes, it can be a little deflating and
14-6,
make it hard to come back.
17-6 are a lot different than 21-6. That's where it's you go into the locker room 21-6 and you start to go, holy crap! I mean, one more mistake and we're done. It's over, and that's where it was a little shocking altogether. And yeah, I don't like it. I don't like that the referees kind of dictated that part of the football game last night.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.